And joining me now is Hadar's brother, Tzur Goldin. He also fought in Gaza during that war. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. I want to point out to our viewers who may not know this, you and Hadar are twins. You're twin brothers. It's been more than 3 years since he was killed. I want to ask first off, do you still feel him? Do you still feel your brother, his presence?
Well, being twins, experiencing each other and living alongside each other for the whole of our lives, I feel him, I see him, I think about him every day. Of course, we know he's not alive, unfortunately, and we know that he is kidnapped. So every day I think about him, and I'm concentrated, mainly try to make myself concentrate in the efforts to bring him home, and then try and begin to grieve after we bring a closure towards this case.
So on some level, this debate has been going on for years in Israel, also around the world. On some level, it may boil down to, and I want to get your opinion, do you think that live prisoners, terrorists, and killers should go free as part of a deal to get your brother's body back home and give him a proper burial for the sacrifice he made for the country? Do you think that's a right thing to do?
Well, for the past 30 years, Israel has been dealing with this kind of situation, the missing in action situation, and doing it not very well, and paying prices, very, very high prices in this type of form of terrorism against the families and societies in Israel. We believe as a family that this equation that a terrorist organization kidnaps a soldier or a civilian, and Israel pays the price and terrorists are getting released, is an equation that has been set by a terrorist organization towards us. And we need to change this equation and bring to a place where holding hostages, Israeli hostages, is a burden, not an asset for those terrorist organizations, and they are paying the price. Change the equation. And so what we're saying, we don't want live murderers, terrorists of Hamas released. We do not want this result to happen again. And we believe that today there's a very, very good and real opportunity to change this equation. Hamas is weakened. He is isolated internationally. And there's a peace reconciliation between the Palestinians. And we believe that the international conditions that are brought now can bring to a change, to force Hamas and make this humanitarian issue. My brother was kidnapped during an internationally brokered ceasefire in a barbarian way, together with Oron Shaul and 2 live citizens, to make this issue a burden to Hamas and a barrier for any humanitarian resolutions for Gaza.
Sir, we just learned not too long ago that Prime Minister Netanyahu will be going to America in the next few weeks. He will meet again with President Trump. Do you expect the Prime Minister Netanyahu to bring this up to President Trump? What do you want to hear from him and also from Netanyahu?
Of course, Israel has been dealing with humanitarian issue in a defensive aspect towards Gaza and the Palestinian population. We believe this should be a fundamental demand in order to reach a resolution with the Palestinians, the reconciliation between the Palestinians, and every result that comes to be during this reconciliation should bring to the phase where my brother Hadar Goldin, Oron Shaul, and the live citizens are returned to Israel unconditionally. And we believe that using the leverage of the international community, especially President Trump and the international community and international law, we should push them into bringing my brother and the other prisoners back to Israel. This is a humanitarian message, and this is a message of a fight towards terrorism. We are very disappointed that Prime Minister Netanyahu, and who also acts as the foreign minister of Israel, of the Israeli state, doesn't press this matter. We want it to be public. We want him to demand it in every platform that he goes to, especially by President Trump. My mother said this international campaign shouldn't and doesn't need to be a family effort. This should be a campaign made by the foreign ministry and by preliminary by the Prime Minister of Israel. So if I can address through your channel that we expect Benjamin Netanyahu to raise this issue as an unconditional for the unconditional release of my brother and the other hostages.
Sir, I want to ask, you mentioned before, just as a grieving brother, you still think about your twin. You miss him every day. It's been, though, more than 3 years since he was killed. How committed are you to this fight, to traveling the world, to speaking out at the UN and to Israel's Security Council and Parliament? Are you still committed to it?
Yeah. Well, this is our lives. This is my career. Like my mother always says, this is our career. This is what we do. Our lives as a family has been stopped just over 3.5 years ago. This is where all our concentration, effort, emotional, mental energies are going through to bring a closure towards this situation. I'm currently trying to live my life like a normal Israeli citizen after I finished my service not long ago. With no success, I'm traveling all around the world. In US, London, over Europe, or even Australia. Every couple of months, my parents are traveling all over because if this issue won't be handled by the Israeli government properly, we will not let go, and we will be those to carry the message and carry the voices of the prisoners that their voices can't be heard.
All right, Tzur Goldin.